What's up? Well, I thought it'd be fun to just talk about what it takes to build a project like this if you've never done it at all. So, what happened was a client of mine wanted some chairs that look like this, and they asked me to make them. So, I started to look around at other, chairs to get inspiration, right? And I was looking at some Moja chairs, which, are kind of nice, right? And I was looking at some other chairs that were kind of nice. And what I found was that most of them had like the back legs were canted on angles and the bottom stretchers were hoops and it was all kind of screwed together. And then they just put, one or two mortises in or through mortises for basically for looks. And I don't like that. I don't want that. I don't like the way that when you turn a leg like this, for instance, when you turn it, see what happens? It gives you a different profile, and I just think that it looks kind of weird to see like a stool going like this to me. So I really like Chippendale through joinery, straight mortises in the back and the front with angled tenons for the side rails and the stretchers. It just makes it difficult. And since I wanted through mortises, through mortise wedge tenons on all of my joints mostly, it makes it even harder. So I was busy doing the smaller stools, trying to get those wrapped up into market. They're finally on my website, so go to tommymac.us if you want to see the way that I have all my products laid out. And don't forget to give Rachel a big shout out because she's the one who's been doing all that web work. So I called Steve Brown. He made a little sketch. We abbreviated it somehow. I gave him some parameters, and then basically from there, we came up with a couple of patterns. And this is the first pattern that we came up with. And I always want to reach for it in this orientation, but in fact, it goes this way. So him and I have been doing this the whole time for like 6 weeks now. That's how long it's taken me from basically a concept to get Steve working on a drawing to finishing the prototypes and then getting the first set done. Now, so this is the back leg. Okay, it sits basically like this. And what I do is I cut it out of the stock, and then I had to make this gizmo right here. So this took some time, right? And this flush cuts the inside face. I mean, yeah, the back face right here. That's what this one does. This one right here does the exact opposite. Okay? And these right here, like these pads, they're for the hold downs, right? So I don't have 100 of these things, so I'm always like unscrewing them and putting them back on to do the thing that I need to do. So it took a little while to figure out the process, which face I cut first, and then what I did secondly, and all that other stuff. And essentially, once you cut the blanks out of the board, they're going to twist. So you need to make enough room to where you can reflatten them, and make them parallel. So I did that on the joiner plane. I flattened them, then I joined them, and then I, created the shape. Once I had the shape, it was all about making the mortises, right? So we have two mortises in the top that hold the back in. We have two that hold the seat in. We have two more that hold the rails in. We have two more that hold the back stretcher in, and so on and so forth, right? So here's the other jig I had to make. So this sits in the mortise like this here, and the leg is in the orientation that it needs, and then you have to make sure that it's square to the bit. And then I was able to cut these and those at the same time, which took a little while to figure out. And since there's a left and a right, I needed to make two of them. So here's a left and here's a right. So just figuring out the process for me took a good couple of weeks, in all honesty. So once I had the mortises put together, oh, here's another jig. So, now that I have like the horizontal mortise, this basically just acts like the fence. So, for everybody else who has the vertical one, how like this goes against the back of the machine. Instead of being upright, it just lays down. The reason why I have these right here, like this slot, this is where the mortise happens. And since it's through mortise, it's a through mortise, right? I want to make sure that I can always replace the piece of wood that's on the jig, because I don't want, I'll show you, hang on. And this took a while to figure out too. I don't want the inside of these mortises to look like crap. You with me? So that's why I always have, I'll show you. So I have something like this. I have a piece of wood like this. I'll drop it in here. I'll do a couple of mortises and it still starts to get beat, and then I'll flip it over, and then, you know, I'll toss it. But I have a bunch of these. So that was the first half of doing all this stuff. That's just to make all the mortises. To do the tenons was really hard. To figure out. I mean, if I just did one of them, I would just make one, you know. But since you can see what's going on here, right? You see how it's an angled tenon in opposites? So, oh, this is a pain in the neck, because you have to orient the proper face, because this will work for the left, and it also works for the right. But since I'm always trying to control the grain of everything that I'm doing, and I want things to look a certain way, it's always difficult to remember what face is what. So when you put it together, it's the way you want it. So I've been pulling my hair out thinking about all this stuff, right? And then to cut them, it just took a while. And I'm so psyched I have that shaper, because I'm able to cut this in one swoop, right? I was able to cut the cheeks and the shoulders on my shaper because the head's adjustable, right? But I don't have the right bit to do like 1.5 inches, 1 5/8 deep. So I had to go back to the table saw and cut all these shoulders. You with me? Which is kind of a pain in the neck. Then I had to chisel them out and all that other stuff. So it really killed the time. With the side stretchers, these side stretchers, since they're longer because of the rake of this leg, the angle is not the same as this. So that was kind of a pain in the neck to figure out. And then, you know, basically, how do you assemble something like this? And what I decided to do was put the back together first, right, where I can control it, make sure it was pretty square. And then I've dry fit all of my side seat rails, and then I put the front together, right? Well, I didn't put the front together right away because I had to figure out, basically we made the sides and then I put them in, and then once I got where the sides were with the front leg, I was able to determine how long the front was going to be to make sure that these joints on these side rails were just perfect. So once I figured that out, I made the front, and then I dry fit all the sides together, made sure they were really good. And then I had to go cut all of the wedges in, right? The slots for the wedges. Then I had to make a whole bunch of wedges. They're way over here, hang on. So that required another jig to make all these. You see? Hopefully I won't. You see what's going on? That's a lot of these little wedges. So I had to make those. That took a couple of hours. And yeah, once I did that, it was just a matter of trying to assemble these things in a way that made sure that they were, you know, the same diagonally and square and sat on the ground pretty well. So that's what I did. So I'm probably into these things for 6 weeks now. I've been working my butt off trying to get all of them done. So like I said, I made 2 pair of prototypes, and then I made my other ones over there. So now that they're pretty much together, I still need to go along and clean each one of these, make sure that they're really perfect. And then after that, I need to put glue blocks in. I also had to go to the upholsterer to decide on what type of seat that I was going to have, because I'm trying to avoid having to make seat frames. You know, they just take too long. So if I can cut out a plywood, which is going to be fine, 3/4 inch, you know, sharp grade plywood, and we'll bevel the edges. What we're going to have on this seat is like it's rubber webbing, so it's going to have a lot of play. and it's going to be super comfortable, because ultimately this needs to be comfortable, and that's the name of the game. So once I got all that done, I still need to make sure that that all, like, yeah, let me show you. Everything still looks perfect, because even though they should be perfect, you know, you're still sanding this stuff, you're putting it together, you're trying to make things work, right? So I had to go along with a shoulder plane and clean all that up and make it look really nice. Even though that this isn't square or rectangular, it just looks it, right? So yeah, that's what's going on. So that's basically what it took just to make them. Once I get all the seat blocking in, I'm going to have to bring them to my finisher. I have to put oil on them, let them dry, and then I need to bring them to my finisher. He's going to spray them up, and then I'll get the seats and be done. So that is it's going to be like 2 months of like serious effort just to get these things to a place where I can present them. Now, to make them available for sale, that's something totally different, and it takes a long time. So it's hard, in all honesty. This is where I find I need the most help, right? Building it's easy. Finding, you know, people to spend the money that I deserve to get paid for building them this way is something totally different. So it's all about the presentation of what I do, and that's why I photograph my things well, and they're on our website. So like I said, go to our website, tommymac.us, if you want to see the way that these things are laid out, right? So with the small stools, we had to build one in each species that I'm trying to manufacture, because people just don't see the difference between maple and walnut until they see it. You know what I mean? So instead of having just a swatch on our website, I decided that I was just going to make them out of those species in a showroom, so it's pretty much there it is. If that's the color you like and that's the species of wood you like, you can just order it. You can go right to the website, you can click add to cart, and it's yours. You know what I mean? But that requires a huge amount of work on the back end of a website, which I don't know anything about. So you have to build pages, you have to write the code, you have to put in all of the proper descriptions. You need to make sure that, you know, the robots on Google are going to actually see what's on your website and then start to push it. And then once you get all that stuff together, you know, there's a whole structure of doing marketing across, you know, social media or the internet or whatever. And I just haven't decided which way to go, because marketing money is very difficult to quantify, you know. Plus, I don't have any. You guys know I just invested all this, invested in all this machinery. So until I pay that stuff off, I'm really just behind the 8 ball to try to make a go of it. But that's what it took to build these chairs. And like I said, these are just prototypes, the front ones. So let me see if I can show you what's what. I know it's a long video, but whatever. Now you can probably notice on this one, you see how wide this is? It's too wide, right? So there's barely a reveal on the back side of it. So going forward, I made them smaller, so the reveal is the same here and here, which I like. And then I didn't know if the back was too wide at 4 inches, so I cut it down to 3.5, whatever, and then the ears are a little bit longer on this one. I don't know if I like that so much. What else did I do? I made a mistake when I was cutting this corner out. You see that? But you know what? I just don't make prototypes out of throwaway stuff, because I'm trying to still keep my mind in it. So that's not going to bother me. Once the seat frame goes over it, you're not going to see it, right? Plus, you know, it says prototype right on it. And some people, like some of my clients, they like to buy my prototypes. And this is my second prototype. Which one did I do first? Hang on a sec. It's over here. I don't know what I did, but I made one. Hang on a sec. Just hang with me for a sec, everybody. No, it's back on this chair. After a while, they all look the same. You know, you can see right here, I cut it too short. See, it's tight here, but not up there. That's because I was trying to adjust the table saw. And that's okay. You know, I mean, it's all right. Oh, there it is. I made the I made the tenon too short, but since it's the prototype, I wasn't going to lose sleep over it. There's a couple little gaps here and there. So I was just working the process out. I tried to round this stuff over on my sander beforehand, but I got a little too close, so you could see a gap there and there. So yeah, it's just working it out, just trying to work the problem and then create something that has harmony, right? Because at the end of the day, with all this effort, if they look like crap as a set, then I failed as a presenter of my work, right? But that's it. I know I'm a mental case. But what are you gonna do? You can see that this place still needs to be cleaned up, right? So I'm gonna get to cleaning. Listen, if you guys like what I'm putting them out there, do me a favor, just follow the page or share some stuff or like it, whatever. I mean, that's what that's what Meta's saying to me. It's like what they do is they make suggestions on how to get your page to get a little more action to it, and they say ask you guys to follow along. So freaking follow along, will you? And do me a favor, if I've ever taught you anything over this the 25 years I've been doing it, just buy I can't even talk. Buy one of my books, all right? They're really, really awesome. Or, pick up one of these kits because these things are fire too. All right. Well, good luck. Wish me luck. Hopefully, bringing these to market will be successful. They're sweet though, aren't they? Look at that thing. It's crazy. It came out of my head.